The War Memorial in Sewerby Churchyard bears the names of 4 men from the village who were killed in the World Wars, 3 from the Great War and 1 from the Second World War. The men commemorated are Albert Charles Andrews, Charles Afflick Hodgson, Frank Leonard Veach, and George Clarence Withy, in alphabetical order, but this is also the order in which they lost their lives. Private Albert Charles Andrews, 1899 to 1918, 2nd Battalion Lancashire Fusiliers. Albert was born in Beverley on the 25th of January 1899. It is unclear how or why Albert came to Sewerby. However, he was orphaned at the age of 12, and it's quite possible that following the death of his parents, he went into service and that he was employed as a servant at Sewerby Hall. Albert was 15 when the Great War broke out. We don't know when he enlisted, but he would have been eligible for conscription in 1917, and at the time of his death, he was serving as a private in the 2nd Battalion the Lancashire Fusiliers. In March 1918, the battalion was sent to support trenches around Arras. On the 28th of March, the Germans launched a massive attack as part of their wider spring offensive. Albert was wounded in the battle that followed. He was taken down the line to 19th Casualty Clearing Station, where he died of his wounds on the 30th of March, aged just 19. He is buried in the Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery at Withey and is also commemorated on the War Memorial in Beverley. Sergeant Charles Afflick Hodgson, 1888 to 1918, 9th Battalion, King's Royal Rifle Corps. Charles was born in Sewerby in 1888. He enlisted into the 9th Battalion, King's Royal Rifle Corps on the 2nd of October 1915, was posted to France in May 1916, and was promoted to sergeant in 1917. On the night of the 3rd of April 1918, his battalion took up positions near the village of Hamel by the River Ancre on the Old Somme battlefield. The battalion was in the support trenches behind the 5th Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire Light Infantry, who held the front. At 5:30 a.m. on the morning of the 4th of April, the Germans began a severe bombardment of the front line and support trenches. When the shelling stopped some 4 hours later, the troops braced themselves for an attack. The attack, when it came, overwhelmed the British defenders, and the battalion was forced back, before managing to regroup, take up new positions and stop the enemy advance. Initially reported missing, Sergeant Hodgson had been wounded in the fighting and taken prisoner. The Germans sent him to a field hospital at Bray-sur-Somme, some 10 miles away, and it was here that he died of his wounds on the 13th of April 1918. He was 30 years old. In September 1919, Charles's grave was identified and his body moved to the Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery at Suzanne. Private Frank Leonard Veach, 1893 to 1918, 2nd Battalion, East Yorkshire Regiment. Frank Veach was the son of the gamekeeper at Sewerby Hall and would have grown up on the estate. He enlisted into the East Riding of Yorkshire Yeomanry on the 20th of March 1915, but in September 1916 was transferred to the East Yorkshire Regiment. That same month, he embarked from Devonport for Salonika in Greece, where he joined the 2nd Battalion, who were fighting alongside French, Greek and Serbian troops against the Bulgarians. The poor sanitary conditions in the war's Mediterranean theatre frequently caused health problems amongst the European troops sent there, and Frank was admitted to hospital several times over the course of 1917 and 1918, suffering from malaria, then diarrhoea, and on 4 occasions dysentery. In December 1918, a month after the armistice, Frank fell ill once again. This time he was a victim of the Spanish flu pandemic that was sweeping the world at the time. He developed complications and died of pneumonia on the 19th of December 1918. He was buried in the Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery at Mikra, some 3 miles outside Salonika. His belongings were returned to his father: a cap badge, a tobacco pouch, his webbing waist belt, some letters, cards, photographs, and his wallet. He was 26 years old. Signalman George Clarence Withy, HMT Tavarni, Royal Navy, 1923 to 1943. George Withy is Sewerby's only Second World War casualty. He was born in Sewerby in 1923 and lived with his parents at No. 9 Main Street, where he was employed as a dairy farm labourer. George would have been conscripted soon after he turned 18 in June 1941, and by the time of his death he was serving as a Royal Navy signalman on His Majesty's trawler Tavarni. During both World Wars, the Royal Navy made extensive use of requisitioned trawlers as patrol boats and minesweepers. The Tavarni, which had been built in 1930 by the firm of Cook, Welton and Gemmell at their Beverley shipyard, had been owned by the Hull firm of Henriksen and Co. before she was requisitioned in 1940. Under naval command, she was assigned patrol and minesweeping duties off the coast of North Africa. On the evening of the 7th of February 1943, she was towing the French water tanker Moy Mazou when she was torpedoed by the Italian submarine Platino. Of her 24-man crew, 22 were drowned. Signalman Withey's body was never found. As well as Sewerby, he is also commemorated on the Naval Memorial at Plymouth. He was 19 years old. Nearly 80 years have passed since the death of George Withy, and over 100 since the end of the Great War. But the memory of those who suffered and died in those terrible conflicts have not faded and shall never be forgotten.